My name is Christian Kowalkowski and I am Assistant Professor of Marketing at Hanken School of Economics. In a recent paper in the Journal of Business and Industrial Marketing that I wrote together with Daniel Kindström and Per-Olof Bremer at Linköping University, we analyzed how industrial service offerings are developed and managed in multinational manufacturing companies. In particular, we investigated the roles of central and local service organizations, because industrial services are of increasing importance for the competitiveness of manufacturing companies across the globe. And many of these firms are multinationals, but research on this so-called servitization tends to neglect organizational issues related to the management of services across borders. We selected the industrial service offering as our unit of analysis, and industrial services span a wide range of offerings, from basic after-sales services to complex solutions. And we developed a classification scheme based on two distinct dimensions: the service focus, that is whether the service is product or process oriented, and the service scope, that is whether the services are offered unbundled or bundled together with other services or products. And we used the scheme to analyze 8 services in detail. Data comes from 2 manufacturing companies, and both are global #1 firms in their industries. Both have a clear focus on services, and both have a strategic aim of increasing the service content of their offering portfolio. We've interviewed central and local managers and managing directors, and also key members of customers' buying centers. Within case and cross-case analysis enabled the categorization of 4 lessons to help us understand the management of services on a multinational scale. The first lesson is that an in-house local service organization is preferable when competing through industrial service offerings. The firms to various degrees operate through an in-house service organization and through service partners in local markets. For basic services in particular, there are cost and risk aversion advantages associated with simultaneously having an in-house service organization and working through local service partners. However, having the local customer interface is very important. The critical capabilities for sensing and seizing new business opportunities are linked mainly to interactions between local representatives and the customers. So subsidiaries must somehow absorb and integrate the relationship knowledge. And since many of the most important services initially take the form of customer initiatives, it is vital to interact with customers on an operational level. The second lesson is that the transnational structure is superior to traditional multi-domestic or global structures with respect to service provision. And a transnational structure can be characterized as an interdependent network based on a high level of reciprocity between central and local entities. It can be achieved by different means, such as by assigning prominent local managers and specialists to centrally initiated projects and positions. In this way, central-local linkages are cultivated without being perceived as central top-down initiatives. And the multinational corporation has to walk a tightrope between centralization and integration on one hand and maintaining the entrepreneurial spirit of the local service organizations on the other. Therefore, companies must decide on the degree of commonality and standardization of service offerings and processes across subsidiaries. Lesson 3 is that the balance between exploration and exploitation is dependent on the service portfolio. Exploration revolves around discovering new market spaces and creating new offerings, whereas exploitation is about utilizing existing capabilities in a cost-efficient manner. And companies need to be able to achieve a high level of both. However, less complex services imply that the high capacity utilization of service personnel is vital, which is more about exploitation than exploration. On the other hand, exploration is a more central capability for new process-oriented services. With extensive service bundles, such as full service agreements and long-term rental plans, both tend to be vital. One central prerequisite for exploration is market sensing, and there is also a need to sense other actors than customers. And this is particularly evident in markets and industries where contractors, consultants, or systems integrators exert a major influence. Central management must also have the capabilities to identify and exploit local explorative initiatives within the company. Lesson 4 is that reciprocity between the product and service organizations is needed for extensive service offerings. For companies that to an increasing extent compete through services and solutions, the importance of cross-functional collaboration increases. Closer integration between the product and service organizations enables companies to benefit from the linkages and strategic relationships between the two areas. And cross-functional collaboration is particularly important if the company is to compete with seamless offerings and not only with distinct products and services. However, effective cooperation between the local service and product organizations is also important for less extensive services in order to enable service sales. Finally, at the central level, feedback loops from service personnel to product development are important in order to design equipment for the service market. Thank you for listening.